Hi, how you doing? Welcome to the Pole Shift News, the home of the Mammoth Observatory. I'm not entirely sure, guys, how this video is going to go down, because we're going to talk about the recent California earthquakes that have happened over the last few days, and I'm going to show you some information on earthquakes regarding their impact on seismographs and also nuclear blast data. And we're going to look at the seismograph data on those as well. And I'll just put it out there that what we probably saw on the 4th of July at the Mammoth dipole probably wasn't an earthquake at all. So let's get on with it. But before we do, big thanks especially to Steve and Douglas. Big thanks, guys. I really appreciate the help that you put in, as well as everybody else that support this channel on the Patreon account and also PayPal, and the link will be down there at the end of the video if you want to support what we do. So let's get into it. Let's have a look at what we're talking about then with the Mammoth dipole, where the seismograph recorded the very first event, I believe, the 6.4 magnitude on the 4th of the month, and we'll just take it from there, shall we? So guys, you can see we're on USGS real-time seismogram display. We're at the Mammoth dipole seismogram on Thursday the 4th of July 2019, and if we go down to the first of the series of earthquakes that started really in this recent pattern of earthquake activity, we're looking at the 6.4 magnitude earthquake that went off. And just to show you the time scale over the duration of the first 6.4 magnitude earthquake that happened, the problem is with this, guys, is that, as I'm going to explain to you and show you, is there's something missing if this is an earthquake, and what's missing is the shear waves or the transverse waves, or commonly the S waves that usually follow after the P waves or the compression waves. And what we're looking at is on this seismogram is just nothing but compression waves, and that is more distinguishable or common with an underground nuclear detonation of a bomb, and you only get compression waves with that sort of detonation. You don't get the shear waves afterwards. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. So as you can see, we've got two different types of seismograph readings. One is of the Indian nuclear test conducted on May the 11th 1998, and the other one is of an earthquake, April the 4th 1995, and you can see that there are two different seismograph readings. The first one is of a nuclear blast, and the second one is of an earthquake. Now, on the nuclear blast we have P waves or compression waves and no S waves following that. On the second one we just have a series of S waves, which is more common for an earthquake. Now we'll go back to the Deep Mammoth hole, where the first earthquake of the series after that took place, and we'll compare that P wave with the P wave from the Deep Mammoth hole, and I think it's conclusive. So like I say, with the 6.4 magnitude earthquake at Deep Mammoth hole, we should have seen shortly S waves following the compression waves or the P waves, and the reason for that is that P waves move at a little bit faster speed than the S waves, but the S waves in earthquakes generally follow after the P waves. P waves are moving about 5 kilometers per second. S waves or transverse or shear waves are usually moving around about 3 kilometers per second. But you can see that the 6.4 magnitude earthquake that erupted at Mammoth dipole only records compression waves or P waves and nothing else after that. Even for about 6-7 minutes after that, it just peters out to completely nothing on the chart. This is characteristic of a nuclear detonation underground and not of an earthquake. If it had been an earthquake, I'll show you what you would have seen. And that's exactly what we see in this diagram. We see the P waves at first, and then after we see the S waves. On the seismograph at Deep Mammoth Hole, all we see is P waves, and that looks similar to this next diagram. And this is the perfect characteristics of a nuclear bomb test with regards to what they would record on the seismographs. And as you can see, Deep Mammoth Hole, the 6.4 magnitude that set everything off after that point is characteristic of an explosion underground. So now we've had a look at seismographs relating to nuclear detonations underground and real earthquakes. Let's just have a look at some of the other data that's recorded on this chart, and let's see if we can, connect the dots. So just taking for instance this region here, we can see that there are P waves. So we can see that there's compression waves at first, and then slightly after that there's another set of waves which will be arriving as we would expect shortly after, S waves, because they travel at different speeds, and there they are being recorded just on this little tremor here. But on most of all the other tremors we can see the exact same data, so that this tells us that these are genuine earthquakes. You get the first peak of the P waves or compression waves, then after that we get the shear waves or the transition waves or the S waves as they're called that follow. And that's because P waves are travelling at 5 kilometers per second, and then shortly after 3 kilometers per second the S waves are travelling. These are genuine earthquakes, but this one on the top is just consistent of a compression wave or a P wave, and therefore it is consistent with an underground detonation of a nuclear device. Now you might ask the question, why would they do that? Why would they do that and not tell the general public? Well, there could be a reason for it. I mean, they could be monitoring the tension building up under California, and like they do with avalanches, they might do a controlled avalanche or a controlled earthquake just to release some of that tension. But if they're going to do that and they cause damage, then they're going to be liable. So if they tell people that they're going to do a controlled nuclear underground detonation to release the tension that's building up in that region, which could lead to an even worse magnitude earthquake, they might want to start things off but not be responsible for damage caused as a result, because it'd be very hard for them to decipher how much damage this detonation is going to cause, and at the end of the day that could escalate into billions of pounds. So the way to do it is not to tell the public, but to release the tension, and also at the same time not pick up the tab for any damage caused as a result of that. So there you go, guys. My verdict on this is what started all these earthquakes after this point, which I believe was the first, the 6.4 magnitude on the 4th of this month, was a controlled detonation, possibly to release some tension, or for some other reason that we can't even possibly even begin to imagine why they would do that. But the characteristics are there, plain and simple, and as we can see from all the other data, this, which is supposedly an earthquake, looks nothing like an earthquake, looks nothing like any other little tremors on this map, because earthquakes are consistent to have P waves and S waves, and all we see in this is the characteristics of a detonation of a nuclear device underground. So I'm going to leave you with the picture again of the two different types, and I think it's conclusive. And here's those two seismographs. So you make up your mind, guys. You've had my verdict on this. We do also have equipment in California. We've got a magnetometer out there, and when JD sends me that data set, we might have been lucky to catch something else on there. It'd be interesting to see what's on that data, because we know we was recording on that day. It's a shame we never had the TriMag there, because that records readings every 3 seconds, as opposed to the magnetometer that's out with JD in California, Southern California now, where it records every 15 minutes. But as soon as that data comes in, guys, we'll have a look at it, and we never know, we might have caught the EMP part of that. Now I know that there are some talks going on about other things, like there was electrical equipment that was knocked out in the nearby vicinity. That could be to do with the EMP of the blast, but there's also reports of bees just falling out the sky and, you know, spinning round on the floor. So I don't know whether that is something that could have been caused by perhaps an EMP blast or something else to do with that on that day, but you know, these things all happened around about the same time, so you know, just begs the question, doesn't it? Guys, this is one of the reasons why you subscribe to this channel, because you know, for the majority of people out there, they're not going to know what they're looking at when they're looking at seismographs and you know, what are characteristics of earthquakes and what are characteristics of, you know, underground detonations. And that's why you subscribe to us on the you know, the Poleshift News channel. So you know, if you want to support what we do, you know, there's a link down there, like I mentioned earlier. You know, you can become a patron, or you can make a one-off PayPal donation. It's entirely up to you. But you know, we do deliver the facts on this channel, and we're following one of the largest anomalies that's taking place on this planet, the magnetic pole shift. And you know, we might just give you one day valuable information that could even save yourselves or your loved ones' lives. You never know. So as always, guys, I'll catch up with you later on in the week. Maybe we'll have that data from JD or from somewhere else around the world, one of our other stations around the world now, or even on the 17th we'll pull the SD card out the TriMag and we'll have a look at the data on that as well. So guys, take it easy, all the best to all of you, and as always, bye for now.